Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I am your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. Today, I have with me Terran Gimpel, who is the co-founder of True Social Business. And let me tell you a little bit about Terran. His clients have made combined millions in the online space and helped tens of thousands of people make lasting changes in their lives and businesses. He's been coaching business owners since 2018 and knows what normal looks like for many businesses trying to market their products and services business to business, and is here to tell us about what's changing and what the future of marketing is going to look like. With his web app and training program, his company is poised to turn a not so modern method of marketing on its head to help consumers deal with less spam and less intrusive attention-based advertising, and help business owners attract more of their ideal, qualified, and interested clients to their products and services. So welcome to the show, Terran.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jennie.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here because I'm fascinated by the fact that you have an app that helps, it sounds like, connect businesses with their potential best ideal clients and or referral partners, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's an organizational tool more than anything. In the industry, there is a tool type called a CRM, a client or customer relationship management tool. But CRMs fit into this kind of linear sales process. So when you're in the process of selling, you put somebody in your CRM so that you can kind of keep track of your relationship with that person in the sales process. But there's actually a step that comes before the sale that we found a lot of our clients and a lot of people in general actually skip, which is this relationship building stage. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to create this organizational tool that helped you to keep people inside of your network organized, no matter where they were coming from. So it doesn't matter if you were, friends with them on Facebook, or you connected with them on LinkedIn, or even you just followed them on Twitter, but you wanted to keep them organized in one central location, and then build off of that to kind of keep things organized before you transfer them over to a CRM if they turn out to be somebody that could be a client. Or more often than not, when that person isn't going to be a client, you can kind of still keep track of who this person is and have your kind of your file and your notes about who they are. So when you do catch up with them, you do want to follow up with them, you can do a quick search, see who they are, and remember exactly what you talked about. So you're not making that, foolhardy mistake of talking to somebody like you were selling them something before, and you're like, oh, am I selling something to you now? And then you look back at your notes and you realize, oh, I shouldn't have said that because they already made it clear they weren't interested. And here I am trying to sell them again because I forgot what we talked about last time. So we created that kind of organizational tool, and we'll call it a BRM, a business relationship management software.
Oh, I like it. So kind of starting to switch the industry there. So a lot of our listeners are, and I know you and I talked about this in the pre-interview, a lot of my listeners, my badass crew, are direct sales moms, network marketing moms, MLM moms. How do you see something like your app helping people in the direct sales and network marketing space specifically?
Yeah, so our app was designed with people in that direct sales and in that MLM space specifically, because we wanted to help you to kind of organize the network connections that you're already making. And to go along with this, we actually developed a piece of training that we wanted to help people really build their relationships in a more effective way. Just because what we found is that a large number of people that were going out and building relationships, the way they were building relationships was what we call an attention-based model of marketing. We see this all the time in Facebook ads and most types of advertising, where it just kind of pops out at you and it says, hey, buy my thing. And so a lot of people in the online space kind of took these models and they're like, well, what if we just applied it to relationships? And I want you to ask yourself that question. If anybody ever comes to you and says, hey, do you want to buy my thing? And you don't know who they are, you don't really know what they do, you don't know why they're selling to you, you don't even know how you got into that conversation, you're probably pretty quickly going to throw your hands up and go like, I'm not interested, right? And it's because they're approaching from the attention-based model of marketing. And so what we do within our training is we teach what we call an interest-based model of marketing. It's something that computers can't do. You can't automate interest because interest is something that goes on inside people's head. But what you can do is you can either, pick up on the visual cues or conversations that are going on in person or online. So when people are posting things, and you can engage with people where they are, engage with them in their interests, and actually build a relationship with them at that point in time. And this is that first stage in any sales process, is trying to figure out if this person's even interested. And if you start the conversation, you start to get an idea of the problems that they face, you have a much, much clearer understanding of where their challenges lie. And if you can speak to those challenges, you then have opened the door for yourself to have a deeper conversation when it comes to sales, directly related to what it is that they're having a problem with, right? Now, that is not something that any app or anything can do. So I'm not going to say, oh, you get the app and suddenly, poof, all your problems are solved. But the problem that goes hand in hand with that is the problem of organization. Once you've started the conversation, once you're building that relationship, you want to keep notes and tabs on what you've talked about with people and when, as well as an accountability system so that you know when to follow up with that person. So keeping that all organized in one place can take time, it can take energy. And if you're, prior to this, I know a lot of my clients, they use what I call a Frankenstein of tech. They're using Google Sheets, or they're using, Word documents, or they're using, in some cases, like accounting software to manage their initial relationships. And it works, right? But it's like Frankenstein, but you forgot to put fingers on the hands. And so, yeah, you got these pieces that technically, if you work hard enough, you could probably pick something up, right?
Yeah.
Or you can work on a tool and you can make it work, but you're lacking the efficiency that fingers give you. And so our tool is designed to kind of give you that detail-oriented capability to better manage and organize your relationships and have an easier time connecting with people.
And what I find interesting about this too is, my guess is this is something that people would download onto their phone to utilize, right?
Eventually, we are still in the earlier stages. So there is this, unfortunately, in the app world, when I say app and I think app, it can come across as referencing mobile.
Okay.
But in the app world, mobile apps are mobile apps, and anything else, any application is just something that's on your computer. So our application right now is a web-based app.
Okay.
So it sits on your browser. You go to it as a website. It has mobile functionality, so you can still connect with people in person on a mobile phone. But we aren't quite in the, download it directly to your phone and you're in stage yet. That'll come down the line when we have more developers and more time to dedicate towards making a valuable mobile version as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So knowing that though, but given how much people are spending time selling virtually and I know myself, I am, with the exception of the last couple of days, because I've been fighting a head cold, which is, any of my listeners are like, man, Jenny sounds like super sultry right now. It's because I'm battling something, y'all. But normally any other day of the week, I am on Zoom anywhere from 4 to 8 hours of the day having conversations. And this sounds like something where I could very easily just pull it up and keep track of the conversations that are happening, right?
Yep, 100%. And we're coming up with new features and functions to this all the time. I won't spoil the details of all those pieces because I don't think your listeners are going to benefit from the nitty gritty of it all. But those are the types of things that we took into account and we still take into account while building this in an effort to just really simplify what people are already doing rather than trying to add another thing that you have to do or create more work and putting it on your plate. We didn't want to do that because then what we become just one more thing that you have to do. And what we wanted to do instead is take what people are already doing on a regular basis within their business. If you're networking or connecting with people, you're probably gathering contacts at the time. And we wanted to make it easier to organize those contacts in a central location so that you could actually manage them from that one location and transfer them either A, over to your CRM when it's time for a sale to be made, or B, actually be able to send introductions directly through the app so that you can connect your friends and your connections together, but then manage and track that kind of relationship as well, which from a sales perspective, I know from experience that when you become the connector, when you become that, man in the middle or woman in the middle, you have this situation where people come to you for things because they know, they know, where to find things.
Yeah. No, I can completely vouch for this. I have been a BNI member for, at the time of this recording, over 10 years, almost 11 years. And in that time, just because of this sheer length that I've been doing this, I know a ton of people, not only in the St. Louis area, which is where I'm based, but I've also got connections now. Thanks to COVID, hashtag silver linings, I've got connections that are literally all over the world. And so if people need anything, I mean, hey, I can even tell somebody if I've got a sock lady, like if I have a sock lady, I have anything else you could possibly need, but I've got a sock lady. So yeah. For sure, if people know that they can come to me. And so now I've become the go-to, not just for business coaching, not just for direct sales conversations and podcasting, but just anything that people would need. And so it definitely, when you're the go-to person for all of that, you become top of mind. And so I think having something like this that can back that up, and you can literally be able to search your own network to be able to say, okay, who have I talked to? Like I remember I talked to somebody who did that really specific kind of insurance. I talked to somebody who did a specific kind of banking. Great. You can go search that if you put it in your notes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That is so good. And already, just based on what you're telling me, I've already got a couple of introductions that I want to make for you.
I appreciate that.
Just because I think what you're doing with your app is going to be very beneficial for some networks that I'm a part of that aren't BNI, because as I'm sure BNI's got its own thing, and they're pretty well set there. But
you say that, but you want to know something cool is we're actually we're working with not BNI specifically, but we're working within that same type of networking system to take the BNI process and make it even more efficient. But it gives a ton of power to Business Networking International to actually see more accurately what's going on inside their networks, because they have a system, but for anybody in BNI, that system is very manual. There's a lot of people oriented things where you have to fill in the boxes and check this and sign that. And the idea is we have computers that could automate that. So we're going to automate what we can, take all those steps out, and make it so that BNI could actually see all the introductions being made by their members, and all the introductions being made to their members, and all the introductions being made in between their members, all automatically, so that they can have that all fed back into their database and have that whole like leaderboard of this person made the most amount of introductions, this person had the most amount of referrals that they received, this person has this and that, and so on and so forth.
That is so cool. I'm so excited to hear that.
Taking right now, I'd say the accuracy with BNI is probably about 80%, just because 20% of the time people probably just don't follow through.
Right.
And the idea is take that 80%, turn it to 100%, and make it so it's a fail-proof system. Because so long as a member uses the tools, which they would be required to use at that point, it'll work and it'll track, and everything will flow through automatically.
Oh, I cannot wait to see this. I am so excited. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is so super cool. So with all of this, how did you get to the point where you decided that you needed to create something like this? Because this is fascinating.
It's a bit of a longer story, but the short version of it is that I was practicing what I preach, and I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to show up and be like, hey, you want to buy this thing? And I still needed to sell my products. I still needed to sell my services. So I started to reach out to people that were peripherally in my network And I was initiating conversations that would be like, hey, I saw that you were building this and I wanted to know more about what you're doing. And, or, hey, I saw that, you just started a new stage in business. I wanted to know more about that. Hey, I saw you just did a promotion. I saw you just did a talk. I saw you were just on a podcast. And I would reach out to people and I'd initiate conversations about that. And 90% of the time, those conversations personally wouldn't lead anywhere. They didn't want to buy what I was selling. 10% of the time, they'd come back to me and say, oh, well, I'm actually doing this, that, and the other thing. I'm looking for something along these lines. And I could be like, oh, well, how serendipitous is this? You need what I'm selling. What are the chances?
Right.
But again, that's only about 10% of the time. The other 90% of the time, I was sending out referrals left, right, and center because these people still needed something. They were still interested in buying. They just weren't interested in buying from me. So I kind of had this idea in my head, but I was like, well, I'm not really experienced enough. I understand code enough to read it, not enough to write it. But in the process of doing this, I reached out to an old contact of mine and now business partner. I was basically doing the same process with him. And he goes, oh, I got this really cool thing. And it was focused towards B2B exclusively at the time. But he's like, oh, I got this really cool thing. It finds the ideal person in an industry, it finds their contact information, and then it finds, an icebreaker for that ideal person, the decision maker in the ideal company, in the ideal industry. And I was like, what? How do you have this? That sounds like magic. And I was, show me what it is. And so he pulls it up and he takes me through this, whole demo. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This does some pretty incredible stuff. And we get to the end. I'm like, okay, sign me up. Where do I, sign? How do I pay? And he goes, just kidding. I haven't actually made it yet. You were watching a PowerPoint. And I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, well, hold on. I've already had this idea. I know how it will work. I know how all the pieces will come together. I've already got the process. I'm already actually doing this for a couple of clients manually already. But I want to build this out. And you know what? I'm looking for business partners. And we had already had conversations about other, business ventures and ideas in the past. He's like, what do you think about this? How do you think about doing this? I said, well, let's take a chance. Let's try it out. Let's see what you've got here, and I'll take a closer look and I'll see what you're working on. So we kind of partnered up and we brought in a developer, and the three of us all kind of hummed and hawed over things for a while before we, started to get our feet working and started actually getting on the ground and walking forward and tugging this massive machine behind us. And we pulled that along manually with no automation for about 6 months before it got really hard. And it got really hard because we had clients, people that were paying us for the system, which we had automated at probably about 15%, right? Which that's a lot of work to only automate 15%. And at about the 6-month mark, I was ready to quit. I said, this sucks. I hate it. It's not automated. It makes me hate everything that I'm doing. We don't get paid enough. And I can't train anybody how to do this because it's so methodically detail oriented. I was like, I'm done. I'm quit. And my business partner came back. He said, hold on. We just finished something. And he opened up this, basically behind the scenes. And at the click of a button, we went from about a 15% automation to an 80% automation. And it was at this point in time that I finally had the opportunity to take a step back and go, okay, well, what are the clients saying? Because we're delivering and, we've got clients and they're paying us on a weekly basis and we're making money, but what do they say? And so we went to them and basically said, okay, well, what do you think? How are things going? We had two types of clients. And one type were these bigger clients that, had the opportunity to take on tens of new contacts and new clients a month. And we said, okay, well, how are things going for you? And they said, well, it doesn't work. And we're like, what? What do you mean it doesn't work? Why are you paying us if it doesn't work? And they go, well, it's not that it doesn't work. It's just we're not trying. I'm like, why aren't you trying? I said, it takes so long to talk to people. And we don't know if anybody wants to actually buy from us. And we're like, we literally told you from the beginning, you can't automate getting interest.
Yeah.
You have to, once you know somebody's a qualified candidate, you still have to talk to them to find out where they're at, build a relationship with them. And if they don't want to buy what you're selling, just refer them out to friends. You have people in your network that deliver every other service besides the one you deliver. So just automate it, refer out. And they said, but it's just so much work. We're gonna stick with what we're doing right now. And what they were doing, all of them were spamming, basically they had bots that were running in the background and sending out, a couple hundred messages a day. And basically they were just ending up with a little trickle of maybe one or two every day coming back and be like, oh, I'm interested. But they were burning through more than 99% of all the contacts that they reached out to.
Right.
Who you can imagine those people don't like you very much after you've spammed them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of had to take a step back and go, okay, well, if you guys are sucking so bad and you're not able to do this, well, what about the other guys? How are they doing? And we went back to our one-on-one clients, the individuals, the ones doing direct sales, either for their own company or they were doing, direct referrals to their friends because they were both in marketing and on delivery. And they were crazy high up there. But it wasn't the app that was doing this. It was the training that we had delivered along with this. And the training was find your qualified market, know who you want to talk to, reach out to them and build an actual relationship. And once you know what their interests are, either A, sell them what it is that you sell because they're already interested, or B, introduce them to what they're looking for because what they're looking for is what they said they're interested in. And if you're really smart about it, you can have a little affiliate commission on the side for yourself. So you end up getting paid
just going to
for the
ask
clients
you about
you're referring out, right?
Yeah.
Now, we did this. We did our training, and the training, was free. It came along with the app, and people were paying us, not a ton of money, but our clients would come back to us and be like, 2 weeks after they started with us and they got our training, they started to implement. They'd come back and be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Actually, now that you're coming back to me, I should let you know I have to stop using your services." It's like, what? What do you mean you have to stop using our services? What's wrong? And they said, well, it's not that anything's wrong. It's just we have 6 months worth of clients now. And it only took us a week to get 6 months worth of clients. So we're going to have to just put you on hold and not pay you anymore because we have too much work. And I was like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't at the end of the day. Yeah, sure. You can find your ideal contacts, but it was the training, that actual process of relationship building of getting people results. So I realized if that is what people get the most results from, how can we help to organize that actual relationship? Because when we would talk to them, they'd be like, oh yeah, I got my spreadsheet, or I built this Word document, or everything's just in my head or by email. And they are just kind of flying by the seat of their pants and burning relationships that they just forgot about. Right? Mm-hmm. So this app idea kind of came from this concept of, can we organize and make the process of building relationships more streamlined and more efficient, give you an easier time following up with the people that you talk with and keeping tabs on the people that, because, of those 10% that are like, yeah, I want to buy what you're selling, not all of them are going to want to buy right this second. Some of them will go, oh, I'm really interested in what you do. Just give me a month. Or give me 2 months, right? Give me 6 months. They don't want to buy quite yet, but they're like, oh, I really am interested in changing, my insurance, or going into this, or buying, a new version of that. I'm interested in trying something new, but I just gotta, looking at my watch right now, I gotta wait until I'm out of this or I'm out of that. So just follow up with me later.
Yeah.
If you forget the follow up, well then
you've lost them to someone else. Yeah.
You've lost them to someone else. Exactly. I actually, a friend of mine told me the story. He plays baseball, and one of the people on his team, who he's friends with, right, is an insurance broker. And she is, just local, friends with him, does everything. And he's like, I'm friends with you. I just like you as a person. I know you. I trust you. I know you'll do the right thing for me. I'd love to give you my business. My insurance runs out in 3 months. I think this was a couple of years ago. He's like, runs out in October. So just follow up with me in October and you have my business guaranteed. Right? And this is car insurance. This is house insurance. This is his business insurance. This is like tons of different products that could be sold. Right. And she never followed up. Right. A guaranteed sale, but no way to remember who it was. 3 months go by, she could have followed up and she just didn't. So she lost out on a guaranteed sale just because of that relationship not being followed up with. So having a tool that could actually, make a note and be like, oh, I got to follow up with this person in 3 months. Having a little reminder, boom, comes up, says, hey, you should follow up with this person. And you can look at your notes and see, oh, they said that if you follow up with me in 3 months, you've got a guaranteed sale. Well, then why not take advantage of it?
Right. Oh my gosh. No kidding. That, yeah. And the number of people who, unfortunately literally leave that money on the table because they're not tracking and paying attention to those details is a big thing. So before we finish up and round up here, Terran, I know that you are offering an opportunity for my listeners to take a look at and start using the True Social business app, right?
Yep.
So how can they get a hold of this?
So right now because we've had quite a big uptick on people joining, we're trying to make sure that we don't have too many people using the app at the same time, just because we need to keep things managed. But you can actually opt in right now to get access and get your notification for when it's your time to join and be able to go in and check it out for yourself by going to www.truesocial.biz. So that's B-I-Z. I'm Canadian, so B-I-Z /download. So that's truesocial.biz /download. And that will take you to a registration page. It's going to ask for, I think it's first name, last name, and email address. And you'll get a little notification that's a confirmation. And depending on where we're at in the process, you might get your notification next day. You might get your notification same day. You might get a notification a week or two from now. But if you sign up now, we can get you that information earlier. And it is because we're in our kind of alpha beta stage right now. We're making that transition. It is currently free to register and free to use all the pieces that we have right now. And you get access to a lot of the upgrades for free as well, or at least discounts on maybe some of those paid upgrades as they come out in the future.
That's amazing. So one thing I know about the network marketing group of people and direct sellers and MLM is we love a ground floor opportunity. So guys, badass crew, go check this out. Get in line for your version of the True Social Biz. Give it a try. Check all of that training out. And so you can access the link through the show notes. So, our regular listeners, how this goes. Anybody who is new to listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast, all you're going to have to do is pick up your phone, click on the episode, scroll up just a little bit, and you'll see our show notes are there, including the link so that you can get to your version of the True Social Biz. So, Terran, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to share about this new opportunity with my listeners.
I really appreciate being on here, Jenny. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And so now, badass crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.